good morning. Today I will be discussing uh, softening. Softening is very important part when the water is hard. So, hardness of water can be removed by boiling, by addition of excess amount of lime, combination of lime soda, we call it as lime soda process, that is addition of excess amount of lime along with soda ash, it is called as lime soda process. Or we can go for resinous material, which will be exchanging anions along with it, and because of that now hardness of the water can be reduced to zero. Ion exchange process, and we can so in the today's class we are going to discuss almost all the methods which are being adopted to remove the hardness from the water. So how the hardness is important? So that is very important. So hardness in the water is due to presence of calcium and magnesium ions, which are in the form of calcium carbonate, calcium bicarbonate, calcium sulfate, or magnesium carbonate, magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate. So carbon dioxide imparts hardness to the water. So all these things are the elements which will be causing the hardness. Overall, when I am talking about total hardness, in general, we consider the hardness due to calcium and hardness due to magnesium. We also define hardness as temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Temporary hardness sometimes called as carbonate hardness, and the permanent hardness is sometimes called as non-carbonate hardness. So what do you mean by temporary hardness and what do you mean by permanent hardness? Temporary hardness is the one which is being caused by either presence of carbonates of calcium in the form of either calcium bicarbonate or the carbonates in the form of magnesium. It might be in the form of magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium carbonate, or the carbon dioxide which has got dissolved in the water, due to which the temporary hardness might have been caused. This temporary hardness can be removed by either boiling, or it can be removed by usage or addition of excess amount of lime. So, however, when we are considering supply of water to 1 lakh people, 10,000 people, or to one particular colony, then in that case boiling may not be feasible. Boiling is feasible only when we would like to remove the temporary hardness for say 4 members, 5 members. In that case we can boil the water. When we consider more number of population to whom we should supply the soft the water which has got less hardness value, in that case we have to go for excess amount of lime. One of the limitations about usage or addition of excess amount of lime is that it cannot remove the permanent hardness. Permanent hardness cannot be removed by usage of excess amount of lime. So I am discussing two important things. Boiling removes temporary hardness. Addition of excess amount of lime in the water and mixing it properly will also remove the temporary hardness. These two methods will not remove the permanent hardness. So that means when I am talking about total hardness, it is nothing but temporary and permanent hardness. If we are going to remove temporary hardness, still permanent hardness will be there. Let us say temporary hardness in the water is only 50 mg per liter, permanent hardness is 300 mg per liter. So in that case, either going for boiling or going for addition of excess amount of lime may not be feasible, because if we remove only 50 mg per liter, remaining 300 mg per liter of permanent hardness will be there. So that may not be fit for usage. Now what are the standards we have? So when we are talking about total hardness value, as per BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, 10,500 2012 standard. So the desirable limit of total hardness has to be 200 mg per liter. So up to 600 mg per liter will be the permissible limit. This permissible limit is not like maximum limit. It is called as permissible limit in case of absence of alternate source of supply. That means wherever we don't have the proper sources of water like river, pond, lake, in that case the desirable limits may not be feasible. In that case we are going for permissible limits. So wherever the sources are scarce or rainfall itself is minimum, in that case we have to go for permissible limits. So it's better to have the total hardness value between 75 mg per liter to 115 mg per liter. The reason is that if it is more, it will cause infestation of the pipe. Even in case of industries, it is going to damage the boiler coils. Taste of the water gets affected. Example, seawater. Okay, however, seawater is a saline at the same time, but hardness value will be more than 4,500 mg per liter if we consider. So whenever we consider seawater, so salinity value will be more than 45%, and the total hardness value, if we are going to check by making use of EDTA titrimetric method, EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraesteric acid. So if we are going to use, we are going to get definitely the hardness value, total hardness value for the seawater greater than 4,500 mg per liter. That is definite. So can we consume that quality of water? No, not possible. So when we are talking about Gulf countries making use of some advanced technologies, so what they are doing? They are mainly going for either desalination, one more process, that is desalination, or demineralization. So that means whatever the salts or minerals which are causing the, or which are imparting the total hardness in the water, those minerals or salts will be removed from the water, so that total hardness value can be brought within the desirable limits. So that is how it can be done. So that can be done either by making use of reverse osmosis or zeolite or ion exchange process. So where the hardness value can even be brought to 0 if the total hardness value is somewhere between 300 and 400 mg per liter. So these technologies are capable of making very hard water. Very hard water means the total hardness value, if it is greater than 200 mg per liter, then we consider it as very hard water. So in that case, we will be going for these particular technologies. Sometimes we have to check if the required value itself is 0 for particularly for industries. In that case, so we have to go for ion exchange. I cannot go for addition of lime and soda ash combination, because this process will not impart or will not yield zero hard water. Zero hard water cannot be achieved by making use of lime soda process. Now, this brief introduction, let us discuss slide by slide. As I told, the hardness in the water forms scales on the bathtubs, incrustation, calcium carbonate scales on the piece of the pipe. There will be deposition of the calcium material. Not only that, soap consumption will be more, but throat formation will not be there, and the clothes may not get cleaned properly. Food becomes tasteless. Apart from this, if the water is very hard, and if I am preparing the rice or any other dishes, so that food will be tasteless. So as I was talking about hard water, that means greater than 200 is not at all desirable as per the new standards, that is BIS 10500 2012 standards. So it has to be between 100 to 150 for the household purpose, because even the pipeline, those things which are being laid below the ground, their design life will be 30 years. So in that case, if there is accumulation of calcium, then what will happen is there will be blockage. So in that case, the quality of the water that is being supplied to the consumers is also equally important. Now it not only affects the people, but also it affects the materials that are being used for construction. So as already I have told, total hardness is nothing but summation of calcium hardness and summation of calcium hardness and magnesium hardness. Not only that, we can also write total hardness as carbonate hardness, summation of carbonate hardness and non-carbonate hardness. This carbonate hardness is caused due to what? Already we have discussed, that is calcium bicarbonate, okay, then magnesium bicarbonate and calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate salts. Now, carbonate hardness is chemically equivalent to alkalinity. This is very interesting. Okay. Now, just clean this. Carbon in the water is bicarbonate ion and carbonate ion. Definitely. So that's why, since the alkalinity is indicated mg per liter. We will be indicating it as is due to presence of carbon dioxide or mineral acids. This carbon dioxide, how it is going to impact a hardness? We consider that distilled water is pure water. Many times when we will be talking, when we will be taking an example for pure water, we will be considering distilled water as a pure water. Practically, it is not. Why? As soon as the distilled water is being prepared, the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere is going to get dissolved in the distilled water. So that means, actually when I have prepared distilled water for microseconds or for a second, less than a second, it will be in this state. But again depends, carbon dioxide is present at many places. So immediately what will happen? The CO2 present dissolve in the water. That's why distilled water, practically when we check, it is not pure water. It will consist of some amount of dissolved gases in it. Because when we consider the example for carbon sink, it is going to be a water, it is going to be a sea, it is going to be a river, it is going to be a lake. So when we consider lake, sea or the pond, so the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere or which is being generated will get dissolved in the water, thereby making it as acid. So that means we need to understand many a times acid rain is not always possible, but however the water will become acid. Why? Because of emission of carbon dioxide gas in huge quantity, and if that area consists of a lake or a pond wherein huge amount of carbon dioxide is generated, in that case it might get dissolved and that water will become acidic. So what I mean to say is, practically the distilled water will not have pH exactly equal to 7 because carbon dioxide will be getting dissolved in. So that means the pH value of this particular distilled water may vary between 5.5 to 6 sometimes. So, because the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere varies from place to place. Anyway, this carbon dioxide imparts what? Hardness to the water. However, it can be removed. The hardness caused by alkalinity and the carbon dioxide can be removed by usage of excess amount of lime. However, permanent hardness cannot be removed. This is what we have discussed. So that means this permanent hardness is caused due to calcium chloride, magnesium chloride and magnesium sulfate. That's why we are going for making use of one more chemical compound, that is soda ash. So the combination of lime and soda is going to remove temporary as well as permanent hardness. However, this lime soda process will not yield zero hard water. It will have the total hardness after treatment. The value of total hardness after treatment may vary between 15 mg per liter to 60 mg per liter, depending on whether we have gone for cold lime soda process or we have gone for hot lime soda process. Let us consider the example. If I am going for addition of lime, how this lime is going to react and how it is going to remove the hardness. So, the carbon dioxide present in the water has already imparted the hardness. So, this carbon dioxide has to be removed from the water. So, in that case, usage of excess amount of lime. Again, when I am saying lime as it is calcium oxide. As soon as I am going to add it in the water, this will be getting converted to calcium hydroxide. We call it as hydrated because we have mixed the calcium oxide, that is lime, with the water. So hydrated lime or many a times we'll be using slaked lime. So when the lime is added in the water, it will get converted to slaked lime or hydrated lime. But we have added lime, correct? So, or sometimes what will be done? The solution of this particular slaked lime will be prepared and it will be fed in the treatment plant. So this carbon dioxide will be getting reacted with the slaked lime. It will give or it will aid calcium carbonate and water. That means thereby the carbon dioxide has been removed. Similarly, when I am going to consider the temporary hardness, so it is being imparted by bicarbonates of calcium. Again, it will get reacted with the slaked lime. It will aid again CaCO3. In all the equations, that is either the hardness caused by calcium bicarbonate, magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium carbonate, or the carbon dioxide. In all these cases, at the end, one common term we are going to get is calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3, and remaining are going to be in form of MgCO3 if it is MgSCO3. Why? If it is MgCO3, then MgOH twice plus CaCO3. So this is the simplified reactions that will be taking place. This is a flow chart. If we are going for addition of lime soda, that means initially the hard water will be taken in the lime soda plant or unit where lime soda will be added, and later on it will be subjected to coagulation process. However, we are discussing lime soda process. So, as already we have discussed, lime soda process is used to remove both temporary hardness as well as permanent hardness. The chemical formula of lime is calcium oxide, but however, it will be converted to slaked lime, so it will be CaOH twice. Soda ash Na2CO3. You can also Google or you can just go through the references that I have mentioned for further information. As I told, this lime soda can be added in the water at certain temperature. Depending on the temperature, either it will be cold lime soda process or hot lime soda process. So, if we consider the advantages and disadvantages, the temperature of cold lime soda that has to be maintained is between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. When we say hot, that means it will be between 95 to 100 degrees Celsius. Generally, this particular cold lime soda process will be slow, and whereas the hot lime soda process will be fast or rapid. So, use of coagulant is necessary if we are going for cold lime soda process. However, no coagulants are required. Filtration is not that easy, but filtration will be easy in case of hot lime soda process. Residual hardness, that means the efficiency of the cold lime soda process will be little bit lower or little bit lesser than compared to the hot lime soda process, because this hot lime soda process yields hard water at the rate of 30% at the outlet of the treatment plant. However, if I am going to consider that with the cold lime soda process, it will be 60. So that means the hot lime soda process will have higher efficiency compared to the cold lime soda process. So already we might have discussed first 4 equations, that is with respect to carbon dioxide, calcium bicarbonate, magnesium bicarbonate and magnesium carbonate. Now to remove the permanent hardness, we can make use of soda ash, that means lime soda, that means it is a combination of lime and soda ash. Lime is what? Slaked lime, because actually we will be using the dry form of lime, but whenever it comes in contact with the water, as already I have written, CaO plus H2O, it will form CaOH twice. So, now in a complete fashion, So that means the magnesium sulfate will not be removed by calcium hydroxide. Why? Because MgOH twice is a precipitate we are going to get, and the calcium sulfate. Since magnesium hydroxide is the precipitate, there is no problem. But whereas the calcium sulfate is the one which is going to be a problem. This imparts permanent. To solve one problem, we have created one other problem. That means this calcium hydroxide line is not at all suitable for removing the permanent dryness caused by either magnesium sulfate, magnesium chloride, or calcium sulfate or calcium chloride. So that means all these four compounds or chemicals will be removed by what? Na2CO3. That is the reason why we are going for soda ash. So, however, when the lime is added, if the hardness is due to presence of magnesium sulfate, we cannot stop the calcium hydroxide reacting with magnesium sulfate. So that means we are going to get calcium sulfate. However, the calcium sulfate in turn will be removed by the soda ash, and it will convert the calcium sulfate to calcium carbonate and sodium sulfate. If the hardness is due to presence of magnesium chloride, if the permanent hardness is due to presence of magnesium chloride, it will be removed by lime. However, again we are going to get calcium chloride. To solve one problem, one more problem has been created. This calcium chloride cannot be removed further by addition of excess amount of lime. That's why if we are using combination of lime and soda ash, what will happen? This calcium chloride which has been formed or which is already present will get reacted with the soda ash. In turn, we are going to get common salt, that is 2Na times NaCl plus calcium carbonate. Similarly, MgCl2 will get reacted with Na2CO3. We are going to get magnesium carbonate and common salt. This magnesium carbonate in turn will get reacted with the excess amount of lime that is being added, and we are going to get simple precipitate of magnesium hydroxide and calcium carbonate. This is how the reaction will be taking place. The limitation of lime soda process is that it will not remove the hardness completely. We cannot achieve zero hard water by making use of lime soda process. And one more important thing is that maintaining the temperature is one more limitation apart from this. We normally tolerate a final total hardness order of 75 to 120 mg per liter. Okay, if the magnesium content is not more than 50 mg. If magnesium, the hardness due to magnesium itself is more, then it is little bit. Coming to zeolite process. So zeolites are the ones, they are being used or they are being made up of either the natural clays or salts, which are hydrated silicates of sodium and aluminium. The chemical formula is Na2O, Al2H, SiO2, H2O. So for regeneration, NaCl solution will be used. Let us say this is a zeolite or this is a resin bed or the zeolite bed that has been used. Hard water is being passed through this, and we are going to get the softened water. So how this particular water is getting softened? Because this resin or bed is made up of Na2Zd. If the hardness in the water is due to presence of calcium bicarbonate, what will happen? This calcium, that is a cation, positively charged ion, will get reacted or will get exchanged with Zd. That means it will form CaZd. zeolite bed, and this particular calcium will get exchanged with the Zd, and remaining is 2 times NaSCO3. Similarly, if I am considering the hardness due to presence of magnesium bicarbonate, the magnesium ion will be getting exchanged with Zd ion, that is zeolite, so MgZd, and we are going to get 2 times NaSCO3. So, since the hard water will be passed continuously through the bed, that means there will be continuous exchange of anions and cations, and because of this the water is getting softened. What will happen is the efficiency of the bed will be lost. To see that the bed is regenerated, we are making use of concentrated NaCl solution. So that will be passed through this particular bed. In that case, what will happen? Whatever the CaZd ions that have got deposited, they will be reacting with the NaCl, that is sodium chloride solution, which is concentrated one. So ultimately, what we are going to get? Na2Zd and CaCl2. However, this Na2Zd will be getting deposited here, and CaCl2 can be collected at the outlet, and however this will be discarded. If we consider the difference between lime soda process and zeolite process, so this process, the lime soda process will not yield zero hard water. The hardness of the water might, depending on again type of the treatment adopted, whether we have gone for cold lime soda process or whether we have gone for hot lime soda process. So when we consider the zeolite, so that means the exhausted zeolite bed can be regenerated with brine solution, that is nothing but concentrated NaCl solution, which is very economical and operating cost will be less. In case of lime soda process, the operating cost will be more, because daily we should make use of the chemical, that is lime soda process. Name itself is made up of chemicals. So in that case, usage of chemical is very common in lime soda process on day-to-day basis. So that means if we don't use chemicals, the water may not get softened. That means the operating cost will be more. Compact designs can be made in case of zeolite process. In case of lime soda process, it's not possible. The area required will be more for lime soda process than compared to zeolite process. So the cost of the plant and zeolite is higher because resin, that means that bed cost will be more. So capital cost will be less. It cannot be used for hot water, that is the zeolite process cannot be used for hot water or acidic water or water having high turbidity and suspended impurities. However, this lime soda process is free from such limitations. So this completes the discussion on lime soda process as well as zeolite process. So our membrane technique as per your syllabus. So let us consider a membrane. So membrane, which membrane? We are going to consider semi-permeable membrane in case of water treatment, which is either homogeneous or it might be heterogeneous. Homogeneous means what? Only single membrane is there, which is uniform. Composite membranes are used. That means two different types of membranes are used. Then we call it as heterogeneous. So either it might be made up of organic or inorganic material, so cellulosic or polyamide. So it can be anything. Osmosis. When we consider membrane technique, many times we will be discussing about reverse osmosis. Many houses nowadays, they have got their own reverse osmosis treatment unit, compact or portable treatment plants at their houses. It is like a prestige nowadays to have RO plant, but RO is actually banned by the government. Why it is banned? Let us try to understand the concept. So first, what is osmosis? Then we will discuss what is reverse osmosis. Osmosis is what? It is a flow of solution from higher concentration to the lower concentration. You might have done some experiment in your high school. So you might have taken a potato, you might have filled the skin, and you might have made a hole at the center. Then one solution which is highly concentrated might have been kept in the, or it might have been taken in the pan or a bowl. In that one, the potato with the hole will be placed, and we are going to add some water which is not containing any salt. So just to identify, coloring agent might have been added in the bowl. So after some time we are going to observe that this colored water will be moving towards the hole of that particular potato. That means there is a flow of the solution from higher concentration to the lower concentration. We have not applied any pressure, we have not used any pumps for that. Automatically this process will be taken place. What do you mean by reverse osmosis? We have placed the membrane, there is a concentrated liquid. When we apply the pressure, only the clean water will be allowed to flow through it, and whereas the other concentrated liquid, or we call it as brine solution, will be on the other side. That means when I am going for purification of 1 liter water using RO, if it is hard water, only 500 ml will be getting the yield, remaining 500 ml has to be discarded. This is highly concentrated. Earlier, let us say, the concentration of the total hardness was 300 mg per liter. That means total hardness value was 300 mg in 1 liter. When this water has been passed through a semi-permeable membrane under pressure, we got 500 ml on the other side with 0 mg of hardness. That means now remaining 500 mg, where it has gone? It is there on the other side. That means this 500 ml consists of how many? 1000 mg per liter concentration. Because in the earlier case, I have considered 1 liter water. In that one, the hardness concentration is how much? 500 mg per liter. That means in 1 liter, 500 mg is there. Since I have passed it through a semi-permeable membrane under pressure, let us say it is RO plant. So what will happen? It will have 0 hardness. That means earlier 500 mg was present in 1 liter, but 500 ml has been filtered. So that means 500 ml is there. That means we are now going to have 1000 ml per liter. That means this will become brine solution, right? So that means this, if this is being discharged, what will happen? There will be salt deposition on the soil wherever we are going to discharge. That means that land after some time may not be fit for agricultural activities also. So, or it may not be used for cultivation. There will be a salt deposition for a period of time, white color on. So, that is the reason why the government has banned RO plants. So, there are two types of membranes, homogeneous and asymmetric. We call it as heterogeneous. Already we have discussed with what material they are made up of. Now let us directly go to reverse osmosis. So in the reverse osmosis, we are going to make use of semi-permeable membrane with a pore size between 2 to 10 angstrom unit. Since the pore size, opening size itself is less, the water that has to be passed under pressure will be more. And that means the operating pressure will be between 25 to 40 atmospheric pressure. So around 95% efficiency can be achieved in case of reverse osmosis. That means 95% of the salt content can be removed. However, it can be adjusted. So, because if we start drinking a water wherein the salt concentration is 0, again that water is not fit for drinking. Many people will be telling that don't drink RO treated water. The reason is that it doesn't consist of any salts or minerals or salts. Say for example, can we drink distilled water? So the answer is no. I'm not talking about the distilled water that is being poured into the batteries of the car. No, that is different. Distilled water means what? Through distillation process, by boiling whatever the vapor that has been collected and it has been condensed at the outlet, whatever the water we are going to get, we get this distilled water. So what it consists of? It consists of some dissolved gases. That's it, nothing else. So if we start consuming, what will happen? We are going to have dehydration, and in summer season, if you keep on drinking, you may die because of dehydration. So distilled water is not fit for drinking. Same way RO water, because it doesn't consist of any salts. That's why nowadays in the market RO units are coming, but they are adjusting this particular salt concentration at the outlet so that people will accept that particular product. If you say it will yield 0 hard water as well as 0 mg per liter of TDS concentration, people may not prefer to buy it. So our BP also gets, blood pressure also gets affected by salt concentration, increase or decrease in the salt concentration. So that means salts are very important. But the salts and minerals in the water are required at the requisite level for the development of cells and tissues. Not too much, not too less. So for that, nowadays almost all the treatment plants that are coming up in the market, the portable ones are flexible ones. However, this RO is capable of treating seawater also, Gulf countries, right? So they will be making use of this technology many times. Low salinity water is possible if it is required by industrial use. Recovery of whey protein is possible. So whenever we are talking about gym and other things, so bodybuilding, we talk about what? Whey protein. So black colored, right? Big boxes will be there, right? So they consist of what? Whey protein. It comes from what? It comes from dairy industries. Let me give a small example just to make you people understand. When I am going to consider curd consists of two elements. One is semi-solid part, which is white colored, we call it as casein, and other one is the liquid, greenish colored liquid, somewhat, we call it as whey. To recover the whey protein from this, it can be done by making use of RO. The mechanism by which this treatment process is taking place is because of permeation, dilution, diffusion and desorption. Nanofiltration is one of the important ones. Again, nowadays, if you check, many of the professors in the IIT, NIT or other universities, they are talking about nanotechnology, nanosensors, nanofiltration techniques. That means I am now talking about nanofiltration. That means in nanofiltration, what will be the opening size of this particular material? The opening size of this material will be between 10 to 20 angstrom units. In the earlier one, it is between 2 to 10 angstrom unit. Since it is being banned, because the pore size is less, that's why operating pressure is more. Because of this, the operating cost will be more, because more often this membrane will be getting clogged, and not only that, it will not yield the required salt concentration at the outlet. Because of this, scientists have come up with nanofiltration, wherein the opening size in this particular membrane itself will be increased, so that we may not have to operate this particular treatment unit with 40 atmospheric pressure. We can operate it with 10 to 25 atmospheric pressure instead of 25 to 40 atmospheric pressure. So monovalent salts can be separated, and the solutes whose molecular weight varies between 200 to 800, that also can be separated. So that means some kind of salt concentration will be allowed at the outlet, which will be feasible and which is required for development of cells and tissues. Again, it can be used for textile industries in case of dye removing, because the materials which are going to be carcinogenic, so those materials can be removed by making use of nanofiltration technique. Recovery of whey protein is also possible in this technique. The transport mechanism by which this particular process operates is permeation. Ultrafiltration. So ultrafiltration is a new one. So again, wherein the pore size will be varying between 20 to 100 angstrom unit, and operating pressure will decrease. In case of reverse osmosis, the nanofiltration, it was varying between 10 to 25, and now it has come down to 6 to 8 atmospheric pressure. That means if I am going to consider the atmosphere, that means we can go up to, right, some nominal, that means 6 to 8 is not much. However, the molecular weight that can be separated will vary between 1000 to 1 lakh. That means small size particles whose molecular weight will be very less, those particles cannot be removed by this ultrafiltration. The processes by which, the transport mechanisms by which this process operates is by diffusion and convection. However, it will separate proteins, colloidal impurities, and high molecular weight solutes. It has got some limitations. Microfiltration. The opening sizes will be in terms of microns, that will vary between 1 to 5 microns, and atmospheric pressure, that is operating pressure, will vary between 2 to 4 atmospheric pressure. So molecular weight of the solute that can be separated has to be more than 1 lakh, then only this particular microfiltration will be feasible. So this operates by a convection process. If we are going for treatment of textile industries or some industrial wastewater, we cannot use nanofiltration alone, or we cannot use reverse osmosis alone, we cannot use microfiltration alone, we cannot use ultrafiltration alone. In that case, what will be done? We will be going for combination of the reverse osmosis and nanofiltration, or we can go for nanofiltration and ultrafiltration, or reverse osmosis and ultrafiltration, something like this, depending on the requirement and the feasibility. With this, I'll just complete my class, and this completes